Have you ever met someone multiple times, spent hours talking with them, but the moment you see them in a different context, you have no idea who they are? Or maybe you're the opposite. You forget faces within seconds, but you remember every word they said, every detail of the conversation, the exact way they described their weekend plans 3 months ago. If this sounds like you, you're not broken. You're not weird. Your brain is just wired differently, and psychology has a name for this. Today, we're diving deep into the psychology of people who remember conversations better than faces. What causes this? What does it say about your personality? And why does this single trait reveal so much about how you process the world around you? Let's break it down. Number 1, your brain prioritizes meaning over appearance. Most people are visual processors. They rely on facial recognition to identify others. It's fast, automatic, and evolutionary. Our ancestors needed to recognize threats and allies instantly. A face could mean survival or danger, but not everyone's brain operates this way. If you remember conversations better than faces, you're what psychologists call a semantic processor. You process the world through meaning, not imagery. You don't care what someone looks like. You care about what they said, how they said it, and what it revealed about who they are. This is tied to something called deep processing. While most people encode surface-level details like hair color or clothing, your brain is encoding context, emotion, and narrative. You're filing information based on ideas, not images. Think about it. When you meet someone new, what do you remember? Their face? Or the story they told you about their childhood dog? The way they laughed when they talked about their job? The random philosophical question they asked? You remember the substance, the connection, the meaning behind the interaction. And this is why you can recall a conversation from 6 months ago, but you can't remember what the person looked like. Your brain didn't prioritize the visual data. It prioritized the emotional and intellectual data. Number 2, you rely on voice and context more than appearance. Here's something fascinating. People who struggle with face recognition often have an incredible memory for voices, tone, cadence, the way someone emphasizes certain words. This is called auditory dominance, and it's far more common than you think. If you've ever recognized someone the second they spoke, even though you couldn't place their face, this is why. Your brain latched onto their vocal signature instead of their physical one. And it goes deeper. You don't just remember what people said. You remember where the conversation happened, what you were doing, what the lighting was like, the emotional atmosphere. You reconstruct memories based on context, not just images. This is why you might forget someone's face completely, but the moment they mention a specific topic you discussed, everything floods back. The entire conversation, the exact jokes, the mood. Your memory system is narrative-based and not image-based. And honestly, this gives you a unique advantage. While other people are distracted by appearances, you're tuning into the parts of communication that actually matter, the substance, the subtext, the emotional truth behind the words. Number 3, you might have mild prosopagnosia, and that's more common than you think. Let's talk about something most people don't know exists: prosopagnosia, also called face blindness. Now, before you panic, this isn't a disorder for most people who experience it. It's a spectrum, and millions of people live with a mild form of it without ever realizing. Face blindness doesn't mean you can't see faces. It means your brain struggles to process and store facial features in a way that allows you to recognize people later. Some people can't recognize their own family members. Others just struggle with acquaintances or people they've only met a few times. And here's the thing. If you have mild prosopagnosia, your brain compensates. It finds other ways to recognize people: voice, body language, the way someone walks, their mannerisms, and yes, the things they talk about. This is why you remember conversations so vividly. Your brain has been forced to develop a sharper memory for verbal and contextual details because it can't rely on facial recognition. And this doesn't make you less intelligent. In fact, studies show that people with prosopagnosia often have exceptional memory in other areas. They're detail-oriented. They pick up on subtleties in language that others miss. They're great listeners. Because when your brain can't use the shortcut of a face, it pays closer attention to everything else. Number 4, you are an analytical thinker. not a visual thinker. Here's where personality comes in. People who remember conversations better than faces tend to be analytical thinkers. They process information logically and sequentially. They focus on what was said, the structure of the conversation, the logic behind someone's reasoning. Visual thinkers, on the other hand, process the world in images. They think in pictures. They remember scenes, colors, spatial relationships. Neither is better. They're just different cognitive styles. But if you're an analytical thinker, faces are just noise. They're not meaningful data to you. A face doesn't tell you who someone is. A conversation does. This also ties into something called systemizing. Psychologist Simon Baron-Cohen describes systemizers as people who understand the world through patterns, rules, and systems. They're drawn to how things work, not how things look. If this is you, then of course you remember conversations. Conversations have structure, they have meaning. They reveal belief systems, values, patterns of thinking. A face, that's just visual static. And this is also why you might feel disconnected in social situations where appearance matters, parties, networking events, places where people expect you to recognize them based on how they look. You're not being rude. You're just operating on a different wavelength. Number 5. You value authenticity over surface-level interaction. Let's talk about what this says about you as a person. If you remember conversations better than faces, there's a good chance you value depth over superficiality. You're not interested in small talk. You're not impressed by appearances. You don't care about status symbols or first impressions. You care about what people actually say, what they reveal about themselves when they think no one's paying attention, the ideas they share, the way they articulate their thoughts. This makes you a rare type of person, someone who listens, really listens. While everyone else is distracted by how someone looks, you're noticing the way they describe their passions, the hesitation in their voice when they talk about something personal, the specific words they choose when they explain their perspective. You pick up on the things most people miss. And this is why people often feel deeply understood by you, even if you can't remember their face. Because in conversation, you gave them your full attention. You weren't distracted by the surface. You were present. Psychology calls this emotional attunement, the ability to connect with someone on a deeper level through language and tone, rather than appearance. And honestly, the world needs more people like this, because real connection doesn't happen through a face. It happens through words, through shared ideas, through the vulnerability of honest conversation. So, what does all of this mean? If you remember conversations better than faces, you're not defective. You're not antisocial. You're not bad with people. You're just processing the world through a different lens. A lens that prioritizes meaning over appearance, depth over superficiality, substance over image. And in a world obsessed with how things look, that's a superpower. So the next time you forget someone's face, but remember every word they said, don't apologize. You're not forgetting them. You're remembering them in the way that actually matters. If this resonated with you, hit that subscribe button. We're decoding human behavior every single week, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. See you in the next one.